When it comes to retirement withdrawals, many retirees with large amounts of savings find it difficult to understand the optimal order of withdrawals. And to make matters worse, it's even harder for them to find accurate information because their savings situation just isn't considered in most of the financial advice you hear online. In today's video, we're going to address this by breaking down the optimal order of withdrawal for retirees with large savings. So I'm able to give you this advice because over the past 12 years, I've helped countless retirees to build withdrawal plans that allow them to achieve their income and lifestyle goals. And I can tell you firsthand that the conventional wisdom often falls short for those in the higher income brackets. And that's exactly why I'm making this video, to discuss the optimal order of withdrawals. Because people who have been larger savers need to think about navigating complex tax situations, dealing with multiple income streams, and protecting the longevity of their wealth. So let's get into it. First, let's define what makes a person a high saver. See, high savers either started early in life and therefore more consistently, or they're people who have been committed to saving a higher percentage of their wealth, typically no less than 15 or 20% of their wealth, or maybe it's been a combination of both. They're early savers, plus they save a higher percentage each year. Median savers in their mid-50s may have $200,000 to $300,000 in their 401ks, while high savers of the same age would have more than $500,000 or $1 million or more by the time they retire. High savers might also be higher income professionals who are focused on reducing that tax bill earlier in life, and that's why they're using their 401k. But that focus needs to shift considering the order of withdrawals when it comes to spending down that money, because the order in which you withdraw your money from your different types of accounts can help you maximize your after-tax wealth. So the conventional wisdom of the order to which you should withdraw from your accounts has suggested that the optimal order would be to first withdraw from your taxable brokerage accounts, and then take from your tax-deferred accounts, and then lastly your tax-exempt accounts. So in this bar graph provided by the Schwab Center for Financial Research, and I'll leave a link to the article in the video description, it shows money being spent in the conventional order. First, the green is being spent down from the taxable brokerage money. Next, the blue is the traditional IRA and 401k, and the orange represents the Roth IRAs because those are tax exempt. But I'll show you later in this video a different way to do this that the Schwab article says can save a person with $1 million about $1,000 per year in taxes. Again, I'll refer you to the full article so you can see the math on that case study. For now, the thing I want you to see is that every person nearing retirement can have 3 different tax types of status accounts, and these 3 different types create advantages and disadvantages, and we're going to dig into that a bit. The first type of account that comes to mind for retirement spending are the traditional retirement accounts. We're thinking IRAs and 401ks. These are tax deferred, and these can especially impact high savers. The main challenges happen later in life from the required minimum distributions. So if you or your spouse have IRAs or 401ks, then when you turn 73 or 75, your silent partner, the government, speaks up and says, hey, remember how we let you not pay taxes on these investments? Well, now we want our cut. And then that's your forced withdrawals that have to happen whether you like it or not. For some people, they're going to be withdrawing this money for their lifestyle anyway, so no big deal. But for high savers, it might be income that you don't necessarily want, and it creates unwanted taxation. This is even more impactful if you have an inherited IRA and you receive that from somebody other than your spouse. So if you have an inherited IRA, you need to have 100% of that money removed from the IRA within 10 years. And this extra income, especially in year 10, is something that needs to be strategically planned for. You want to be strategic about this forced income because it's possible for one person to pay thousands of dollars more in taxes than the next person simply because they were strategic. So what do you do about this? Well, there are different strategies that you can use, and they play into the idea of personalizing your optimal withdrawal strategy in a way that's different than the conventional thinking. The main thing you want to do is you want to look at the impact that comes from having this extra income and see if you can reduce it. So, for example, you could advance your income earlier than the required minimum distribution age, and this would have the effect of taking the future forced income and making it smaller. You could plan to do qualified charitable distributions, and this would give money to charity while bypassing your taxable income completely. You could perform Roth conversions because Roth IRAs do not have any of those required minimum distributions. Or lastly, you could use a combination of withdrawals that is optimal for your tax bracket. And I'm going to explain more about that when I refer back to that Schwab article. But before we go there, let's talk about the other two types of accounts that you'll be withdrawing from in retirement. So that next type of account that people tend to think about are the taxable accounts. These are your regular brokerage accounts, and these accounts are taxed each year just like your bank savings account. Taxable accounts are not tax deferred, which means they get taxed whenever you have a taxable event. And that event happens whenever you sell an investment for a gain or a loss, which happens a lot of times when you rebalance your portfolio. It also happens when interest is deposited into your account. You can be taxed at short-term capital gains, long-term capital gains, ordinary income, or you could have an NIIT tax. That's the net investment income tax, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. One reason that your taxable accounts are important for an optimal withdrawal order is that they can be used to help blend your tax bracket. And blending your tax bracket can help you smooth out that taxable income when you're withdrawing money in retirement. Let me explain what I mean in concept first, and then I'm going to show you an example. So let's say that you're in the 22% tax bracket and you have a taxable investment account also, and they have long-term capital gains. Well, those could be taxed at 15% or 20%. So one option could be to pull money from your IRA for that year. You'd pay 22% tax or more. The other option could be that you would pull from your taxable account and pay 15% tax on that money. By pulling a little bit from these different types of accounts, you're blending your tax bracket. So here we see a family working with their advisor to blend their tax bracket for the year. They were able to test the combination of withdrawals from their IRA versus their long-term capital gains. And after putting their Social Security income in there for the year, they can take an early look at the impact of withdrawing from their IRA versus their taxable account. So once they have that, they can then go to a range calculator. Here we see that they are in the 22% tax bracket, and they've got a long ways to go before they would hit that next tax bracket up. Below that, we see the long-term capital gains range calculator for them. And all this red shows you how many dollars of capital gains they could afford before they hit that $993 extra dollars for Medicare and the 3.8% net investment income tax. So hypothetically, they could harvest $60,000 or so of long-term capital gains from their taxable account and pay 15% taxes rather than 22% if they were to pull more money from their IRA. So using a tax planning tool, they're able to perform a planning technique that can help them to create an optimal tax withdrawal strategy, and ultimately it saves them dollars each year. Let's take this one step further and dive a little deeper into the advantage of the taxable account. Some people have an even bigger advantage when they start to do this. You see, what I just showed you was what happens when you use long-term capital gains. But inside your taxable accounts, you might be able to create income without reporting a positive capital gain. In some cases, highly saved people are able to withdraw spendable money for retirement by taking advantage of the netting capital gains and losses rule. Yeah, not a very catchy name for a rule, but that's what we call it. For example, before you report a capital gain, you can net the gains against the losses. So let's say that part of your portfolio is in the negative by $50,000. Another part of your portfolio is positive $50,000. Well, you'd net out losses against the gains and have $0 to report in income. Or in that same example, instead of selling $50,000 in gains, you sold, say, $70,000, then you'd only have $20,000 in long-term capital gains to be taxed at 15% that we were just talking about in that planning software. So as you can see, there are tremendous advantages to planning your withdrawal order. By the way, if you find this interesting and you want to find out more about how you can optimize your retirement plan in general, at the end of this video, click the link in the description to watch another video free of charge where I break down in full detail an entire playbook playbook for retirement where I discuss everything from taxes to income and healthcare. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you the result of the Schwab article solution discussing the conventional thinking for optimal withdrawals order. But first, let's cover the last type of account that you can withdraw from. The third type of account that you'll be withdrawing from in retirement can be your tax-free accounts. These are your Roth 401ks and your Roth IRAs. And here's where highly saved people can be strategic in 3 ways. First, you can use that bucket of money in a similar way that you use taxable income in the last example. And what I mean is you can use it to help blend your tax bracket. As an easy example of that would be, let's just say that you're going to pull an extra $10,000 out for your account to go on vacation, but pulling that money from your account pushes you into a higher tax bracket where you could take it from your Roth instead. Second, you can allocate your investments to be most aggressive out of all of your other types of accounts in these tax-exempt types of accounts. And the reason you can do that is that you're not going to have the required minimum distributions on your tax-free accounts. So maybe you could be less aggressive in your other accounts that do have that forced income and more aggressive in the accounts that do not. Third, you can do backdoor Roth conversions or even mega backdoor conversions in the years where your income drops, and which usually happens between the years that you stop working and then right before you start your Social Security benefit. But regardless of the strategic advantages of the Roth, having some of your money located there can contribute to a better overall tax-efficient withdrawal strategy because it can help you to personalize your withdrawal plan to best suit your unique situation. Back to that Schwab article I mentioned earlier, here's a spoiler alert. When comparing the conventional wisdom to pulling your funds from your taxable money first, your IRA money second, and your Roth money third, they found that a personalized strategy was better. They said that as an individual, you should do it in a way that best manages your tax bracket. It looks something like this. So in this chart, you see green and blue in the first years, and that's a blend of taxable money along with IRA money. And then to the far right, you see several years of orange, and that's the Roth money getting blended in. And what's happening in this chart is the family is optimizing their withdrawal based on a tax strategy. The strategy usually involves advancing income early from their IRAs to take advantage of the current tax bracket. So for example, like in the tax planning software that we looked at earlier, the family might be able to take more IRA money out in a current year because there's room in that lower tax bracket. And as we learned, that helps to reduce those future required minimum distributions. Now, they may not spend that money. In fact, they probably will put that back into their investments, just not back into an IRA. It would go into an after-tax type of account. Again, I'll point you back to the Schwab article if you want to take a look, because when highly saved people pay attention to their tax efficiency with the order of their withdrawals, it saves them money. And in the case study in the article, it saved someone with $1 million in accounts about $1,000 a year in taxes overall. All of this might sound like a lot, but you shouldn't feel intimidated by it. Good financial planners are able to look for these things and organize simple action tasks that can be systematized so that you know you're doing everything you can to be tax efficient. Number one, you have 3 types of accounts that you can withdraw from in retirement. If you don't have all 3 types, you can start by reallocating your savings into them. 2, you want to look ahead to see if you're going to have an RMD problem. You'll know you do if your forced income exceeds the amount you desire to pull out each year. And 3, you want to question conventional wisdom in the order of your withdrawals. Consider blending your withdrawals. Ultimately, with taxes, there are other factors to consider, and you should speak to a financial professional to understand the optimal withdrawal strategy to use. But now that you know to question the conventional wisdom in the optimal order of withdrawals, I want to leave you with something to think about. Because you watched the entire video, I know your financial plan is important to you, but are you sure that all the other aspects of retirement are set up for success, such as a retirement tax strategy or an investment strategy? Well, if you want to confirm if you're on the right track, click the link in the description to watch a full retirement plan playbook where I share 12 years of retirement planning knowledge with you in that video. I'll see you in the next one.